Right behind me we have a budget Prebuilt PC in the HP Victus 15L. I've made an entire video talking about this system recently, but that was more of a general review, and this one is going to be more in detail. So if you're looking for a budget Prebuilt PC for around $500, then stay around, because in this video I will show you benchmarks for you to see how this one performs in different games. I will also tell you the pros and cons. I will talk about the potential upgrades, and then I will also tell you whether or not you should buy this system depending on what you're looking for. The link to this system will be down below in the video description. My name is Valentino, and with that being said, let's start. So first, to get this out of the way, I will talk about the specifications. Now, if you're a beginner to computers, you might not understand everything that I say here, but I will try to make it as simple as possible, that way everyone can understand. For the GPU, you get the RX 6400, which is an entry-level graphics card that will allow you to play easy-to-run games. Now, straight away, if you're looking to play high-demanding games like Cyberpunk 2077 at 1080p ultra settings and you are expecting at least 60 plus FPS on average, this is not going to be the right system for you, because to be honest, you are spending $500 for this system. Do not expect anything crazy out of it when it comes to gaming performance in very high-demanding titles. Then for the CPU, you get a very decent CPU in the Ryzen 5 5700G, which is actually a very nice CPU, especially at this price point, because you can pair it with many GPUs in the market without bottlenecking, up to the RX 6700 XT or RTX 4060. If you want a graphics card that is better than those two GPUs, then I will recommend a different CPU, but honestly at this price point you are getting a great CPU that can be paired with any GPU that you are going to put if you are on a budget. Then you get 8 gigs of RAM, which is enough for most titles, even though I do recommend upgrading to 16 gigs of RAM down the line if you have the budget to. And then you get 256 gigs of SSD, which I will talk about in a second, but I do think that it's nice if you could upgrade the storage, that way you can download more games. With the 256 gigs of SSD storage, you can download between 2 to 3 games if they are not too heavy, but if you want to download more games than that, then upgrading the storage is highly recommended. But as I said before, I will talk about that in a second in my potential upgrades section. And last but not least, you get a 500 watt power supply, which is going to be enough for this system and also for some potential GPU upgrades that you may want to buy if you want a faster performance. Now let's talk about the design. This system is actually pretty small. I do like the design of it. Usually HP makes white Victus 15Ls for most of their systems, but I do like the black aesthetic. That is honestly up to personal preference, but I also like the V in the middle. You can light it up if you want. Right now it's not light up because I'm not touching the system, but if I move my mouse, it's going to light up like that. I do like the colors. You can change it in the software, and talking about the software, inside of it you can change many things. It's a very nice software, especially since you are only spending $500 for this system and you are getting a very complete software where you can change the performance control, change it to either performance, balanced or quiet mode. Keep in mind that I tested this system in the normal setting, not performance or quiet mode, and to be honest, if you put performance mode, you are not going to be gaining that much more performance, so I wouldn't recommend you playing in performance. I would recommend you either playing in balanced or quiet mode if you want your system to be quiet. Then you can also change the lighting for the B in the middle. As I said before, you can put another color. I just chose blue because that's the main color of the Shadow Gaming PC channel. And then you have other things inside of the software. I think those two are the main ones, but then you can see the full specifications, and you also have the network booster if you are interested in that. Now let's talk about something that is quite important, and that is upgradability over time. People usually say that these systems are not upgradable over time, and to a certain extent they are right. This system is not the most upgradable over time, so if you want to put, for example, the RTX 4080, or you want to put high-end graphics cards in here, you are not going to be able to do that, or upgrade to a very fast Ryzen 7 7800X 3D CPU, which is from the new AM5 platform. That's just not going to be capable with this system. But I do disagree in some way, because if you are on a tight budget and you make some nice upgrades on a budget, that's going to be completely fine. For example, upgrading the GPU to something that's a bit more powerful, or upgrading the RAM and the storage, that is going to be possible. So yes, it is not the most upgradable system, but at this price point I don't think that it's terrible, and you can upgrade some stuff to make it better, which I will talk about right now. But before talking about that, I want to say that if you are enjoying the video so far, click the like button and subscribe. It helps the channel a lot, and trust me, it goes a long way. So if you end up doing that, thank you so much. And anyway, before talking about the potential upgrades, I want to tell you about the pros and cons. So for the pros, we have that this system has a cheap price and is also good in terms of price to performance. Now, being cheap and being good in terms of price to performance is not the same, because there are many cheap systems out there that I would never recommend because they suck in terms of price to performance. But this one has a very decent performance, and don't worry, I didn't forget, we still need to see the benchmarks, but trust me, it has a very decent performance for the price, and also it is a well-paired CPU and GPU combo. I've seen many systems in the market where you get an i7 that's very old, but they use it for marketing, and then they use a higher end GPU, and that's just not a good CPU and GPU combo. But this CPU and GPU combo is nice on a budget, nothing too crazy, but it is well paired. And then for the cons, the main con in my opinion is that it doesn't have enough storage. As I said before, if you're just going to play, for example, Minecraft, and that's the only game that you are going to play, then that's fine. 256 gigs of SSD is going to be enough for you. But for most people, if you want to play more games than that, then I highly recommend you upgrading the storage. And as I said before, I will talk about the potential upgrades right now. So the price for this system is $500 when it's on a discount. Maybe it's more expensive when you're watching this video, so highly recommend you checking the latest prices and availability in the video description. But anyway, if you find it at $500, you can make 3 upgrades to make this system a much better PC overall. The first upgrade is the graphics card. I do recommend you upgrading to something like the RX 5600 XT used from eBay, and right now you can get it for around $108. This is going to be a nice upgrade, and you are going to be getting a much better performance when it comes to 1080p compared to the graphics card that you're getting here, the RX 6400. You are going to be getting around 60 plus FPS on average, 1080p, medium to high settings, even in high demanding titles, which is a very nice up. And then if you want to play esports games, you can expect 144 plus FPS if you make this upgrade. Another upgrade that I do recommend you doing, that I mentioned a lot throughout this video, is the storage. I recommend you going with a 1TB SSD for around $60. This is a Gen 3 drive that is very capable, and I'm talking about the A60. And then the last upgrade I recommend you doing is the RAM. I recommend you going with 16 gigs of RAM. It is very cheap for $35. So if you make every upgrade that I just mentioned, the total price will be $703 for the system, because it's around $200 worth of upgrades. And then if you want to make every upgrade but the graphics card, because it's the most expensive upgrade and maybe you can't afford it, then you are looking to spend around $595 if you want the RAM and storage upgrade, and this is going to give you more performance anyway, so I do recommend you making this upgrade if you cannot afford the graphics card. But now let's talk about benchmarks. I will show you the benchmarks for Fortnite, and then I will tell you about the other games. So we are testing Fortnite at 1440p resolution competitive settings, the X11. Now these are not the ideal settings for competitive Fortnite. The reason why I have tested this one is because I told someone else to test it for me, that way I had more time to record the video. But anyway, even at 1440p, in not ideal settings, it was able to average around 80 FPS, as you can see, reaching 100 FPS in some cases. So if you play at 1080p DX12 or performance mode, which is what you're supposed to play with this particular PC, then you can expect 120 to 140 plus FPS on average. Of course, depending on the area and the exact settings that you use, but you can be sure to expect at least 100 plus FPS on average. So you can buy a 144Hz 1080p monitor if you really wanted to and compete at that level. To be honest, for a $500 system, I am not complaining at all. And if you want to see more benchmarks for different games and more high demanding ones, those are going to be in the video description. So as you saw, Fortnite ran actually pretty decent. For the rest of the games, I will leave the average FPS in the video description for you to see how much FPS you can get on each title, because if I put every benchmark in the video, it would be very long and I do not want to make a super long video with the benchmarks. so go to the description and you can see every test in there. So in my final thoughts, whether you should buy it or not, to be honest, it depends on the type of person that you are. As I said at the beginning, if you want to play very high demanding titles, then this is not the right PC for you. And also, if you are not going to upgrade the storage and you want to download a bunch of titles, this is also not the right system for you. But on the other hand, either you are going to play 1 or 2 games, or you are going to upgrade the storage and you are on a tight budget, you just want to play games like Valorant, Minecraft, and these type of games, this is actually a very good system, and I would recommend you buying it. If you can spend around $600 maximum or $700, this is a very nice option for a pre-built PC. And before anyone says anything in the comment section, yes, building a PC yourself will give you a better price to performance, and if you are interested in a PC build and you are not against building it yourself, then I recommend you watching my video on the best gaming PC builds for every budget and every resolution. This is an updated video that I make every month, so you will have that one in the top right of the screen. And also in the description you will have a link to my PC community. Thank you guys for watching, thank you for the support, and I will see you on the next one.